Are you looking for the best airflow PC cases? In this video we will look at some of the 6 best airflow PC cases on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Corsair Obsidian 1000D. The Corsair Obsidian Series 1000D is a behemoth of a PC case ready to house the biggest and baddest systems. In fact, it's ready to house 2 systems if you wanted to go down that route. We've seen them running with full EATX motherboards and little mini ITX motherboards tucked inside there, too. Standing tall at a staggering 27.3 inches, this super tower features enough space to house 18 fans and up to 4 massive radiators installed simultaneously. That's enough cooling for any setup. The 1000D features a unique triple-chamber design with convenient French door-styled storage compartments and telescoping radiator trays for easy installation in addition to the stellar cooling support. Because it is 2024, of course, there is also an RGB-lit front panel I/O with built-in smart lighting and fan control courtesy of Corsair's integrated Commander Pro controller. The Obsidian 900D has long been a top choice for massive, over-the-top builds, and it only fits that the 1000D was designed to knock it off its throne. The obvious caveat with anything that claims to be a super version of its category is that this thing will really cost you a large chunk of your PC build budget. So long as you're conscious of that and have the ready money to stretch to that sort of cost, we're talking $500 plus here, then the Obsidian 1000D will house the monster gaming PC of your dreams. Number 2. NZXT H710i. This most recent iteration of NZXT's smart chassis brings a couple of new features to help modernize your build. This ultra-clean and uncomplicated mid-tower case emphasizes convenience above all. It includes many of the same trappings as its predecessor, but costs a little bit more and has just a couple of neat changes. The NZXT H710i features a front panel USB 3.1 Type-C port, and the ability to vertical mount your GPU with a separate PCIe riser. The H710i features integrated RGB lighting around the tempered glass side panel, controlled by the NZXT CAM software and a built-in LED lighting hub that allows for easy control of RGB lighting and fan speeds as well. To keep things cool, the H710i features ventilation gutters that run the perimeter of each side of the case, aided by the 4 120mm fans included with the case. Cable routing is where the H710i shines, achieved primarily through a large aluminum slat that allows you to route your cables into the integrated cable channels on the back of the case. In our testing we found this case keeps everything clean and clutter-free, and the Velcro straps built into the back help hold everything down. An excellent and easy alternative to the rubber gasket solution found on some of the other top mid-towers. Number 3. Corsair Carbide 275R. Corsair's commitment to PC cases means that it's able to offer great options both at the very high end, such as the enormous 1000D, but also in the more modest, budget section of the market. Here, that's ably represented by the Corsair Carbide 275R, an affordable mid-tower chassis that looks anything but. The clean, unfussy design of the Carbide 275R means that it's not going to divide opinion because of some edgy aesthetic, nor distract from the hardware inside it. And only spending some $70 on the clothing of your PC means that you'll be able to prioritize your cash for the best parts, which you'll still be able to show off because you get a full-height acrylic side panel, though you can buy a more expensive tempered glass version that gives you a great view of your gaming rig's innards. And it's super easy to build those innards into the Carbide 275R. The large cutout on the motherboard tray meant that even when I was figuring out which cooler to mount on the system I could leave the motherboard in place and switch brackets at will. There's also some decent cable routing and plenty of space and options for placement of different all-in-one liquid cooling radiators, too. In terms of keeping the build clean, I also really appreciate the PSU shroud at the bottom of the case which covers the power supply and all that ugly cabling, with a metal casing in the same color as the chassis itself, which can be either black or white, incidentally. You do only get a couple of simple 120mm fans included in the package, So if you're not building an AIO radiator into the machine, you'll probably want to pick up some extra PC fans to help the cooling. My only other niggle is the fact the top I/O connections don't include a USB Type-C option. That's something I've come to expect, even from budget motherboards. Still, for the money, you'll be able to build a really good-looking gaming PC without breaking the bank, which will let you focus on what's going inside. Number 4. NZXT H1 V2. I was a big fan of the original NZXT H1 Mini ITX chassis when it first came out. But then, mine never caught fire, which is a good thing because I've been using it as the basis for my office work machine ever since. My boss would not have been pleased if I'd burned down the PC gamer offices because of a faulty PCIe riser cable. Aside from that specific riser problem, the H1 was a fantastic package to build a Wii PC into. And so is this recently updated version, too. On the face of it, this H1 V2 looks identical, and you'd be forgiven for thinking it was just a new release of the same case, with an even more non-burn-wide PCIe riser cable for your GPU. But NZXT has actually done a lot to improve the overall design, even though it does make for a more expensive, slightly larger and heavier Mini ITX case. The real beauty of the H1 is that it includes both a powerful PSU and a liquid CPU cooler, so the really awkward bits of a Mini ITX build are taken care of. If you've ever built a small form factor PC, you will understand the pain of trying to route a million unnecessarily long PSU cables around the motherboard, graphics card, and everything else. Then trying to mount a capable enough cooler into the limited confines of a Mini ITX case, well, that's a task in itself. A note of warning, however, and that the clearance between the radiator fan and the top of your memory isn't huge. It is another 1 mm higher than the original, but with just 46 mm as your maximum memory height, some DIMMs will simply be too big. Our Corsair Dominator DDR5 sticks we've used in our Alder Lake test rig and the Mini ITX B660 proved just too tall to close the case. NZXT helps the build process with clear labeling within and without the chassis. I had issues actually getting into the toolless design of the first H1, but it ships with labeling on the outside explaining how to gain access. And inside, there are tags and stickers indicating what goes where and how to shift things around to gain access to the motherboard tray, for example. In all, NZXT has made many welcome improvements to what was already a very good Mini ITX chassis design, well-documented riser issues aside. I get that the $400 price tag will sting for a lot of people, but 750W SFX power supplies don't come cheap, and nor do AIO coolers that would squeeze into something so relatively small. This makes the H1 V2 not just a good small form factor chassis but a great platform from which to build the Mini ITX chassis of your dreams. So long as those dreams don't include overly tall sticks of memory. Number 5. Cooler Master Silencio S600. If you're the type of gamer that requires total concentration, a quiet PC case can be critical. Once your PC starts heating up and fans begin blowing at full force, your once silent PC can quickly turn into something that resembles a roaring jet engine. It's times like these when a silent PC case can come in handy, and nothing does the job quite like Cooler Master's Silencio series. The Silencio S600 mid-tower looks simple on the outside, but the interior is filled with intelligent engineering and high-quality sound-dampening materials to help drown any unnecessary noise. Usually, this comes with a severe compromise for airflow, but the S600 does a pretty decent job of moving air and keeping things cool despite its silent properties. But that is the thing that will require the most thought when it comes to building a full machine into this setup. You need to ensure that there is optimal airflow across the key components in order to keep the temperatures down, and therefore ensure that the volume stays low, too. You will also have to decide whether you want to go for maximum silence and keep the PC completely under wraps, or whether you still want a side panel to be able to show off the insides and your shiny, expensive gaming parts. Number 6. Lian-Li PC O11 Dynamic. If you're strapped for vertical space, the Lian-Li PC O11 Dynamic is a short and stubby alternative to some of the more long-necked PC cases we've seen. It's a case I'm pretty familiar with, as it's the model that I built a custom liquid-cooled GPU and CPU loop into. I found that the 011 Dynamic is great for a custom loop, as there are many excellent distro plates that can fit into the front of the PC 011, but it's just as well suited to your usual AIO or air-cooled setups. You can install AIO and radiators up to 360mm pretty much anywhere you are on the top, bottom, and side of the case. Featuring a tempered glass design, we found installing components in the PC 011 a painless experience during testing. Well, apart from some of the super sharp angles that might spike the odd finger. You can remove the top and both sides of the chassis for easy access to its internals. Parts of the process that used to be stressful, such as liquid cooler installations, are now stumbling blocks of a bygone era. The chassis has a bunch of expansion slots, 8, and can fit multiple GPUs if you decide to go that route. Though, I'm not quite sure why you'd that, but who am I to tell you what to do with your PC build? Live your life. Plus, if you're willing to shell out a bit more cash over the vanilla model, the PC 011 comes in a Razer edition as well. Fully integrated with the Synapse 3 lighting software, you can even coordinate it with your other Razer-made peripherals. The beauty is that this could be a case for a simple budget build or something a bit more extravagant. It really comes down to your skill level and creativity as a PC builder.